Yo, what up?
Good to see you again. How are you this week?
Yes, it's going pretty good though. I just finished my third course in school.
Do you complete it or did ChatGPT complete it?
Well, that's it's not open source. Talking of open source, I think last week we have Quen 3 Max from China. Well, what are your take
Yeah,
on that?
yeah. I think it went kind of quiet, so it didn't really pop up on any news. According to benchmarks, it's doing really well. Of course, every sort of time a model releases, it seems like the benchmarks, their model's always the top one, no matter how the graph is drawn. But yeah, I think it's really showing. I mean, it has a trillion parameters, which sounds like a lot.
Hmm.
To me, I don't know. I think the open source models only have, I think it goes, I forget how many Quinn has, but I think it's like what, 70 billion or something. I think I was told by someone that while the number of parameters for ChatGPT, like 4.0 and 5 aren't public, but it's probably around that number as well. But there's probably some diminishing returns once you're getting to trillions of parameters. I can only imagine how expensive it is to run those those models, because that's a lot of compute. Yeah, it kind of shows that, I don't know. Do you think, here's my question of the day, do you think these startups are overvalued? Do you think OpenAI or even Claude, Anthropic, these LLM foundational model makers that are worth, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars at this point? Do you think that they're just everyone's gonna have this technology?
Well, I think it's not though. I'm actually bullish on all those automakers because if you look at the car business, right? First mover advantage like Toyota, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they 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 sort of maintain that competitive advantage for a very long time. So I think right now most of their venture money is betting on the discounted cash flow of them in the future. And I strongly believe that AI is going to be there, and those who stay going to take a very big piece of the cake.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think for me, maybe the closest analogy I can think of is the iPhone. So I'm old, right? So I remember when the iPhone first came out, it blew everyone's mind, right? The second iPhone was called the iPhone 3G. So they went from iPhone 1 to iPhone 3. And it just like sort of also then blew everyone's mind. But then like we had the iPhone announcement the other day, right? iPhone 17. I don't even know. I don't really care. I think sort of like there was a point in time when like if you didn't get the new iPhone, you'd be missing out on so much. But it's hard to say what you're missing out with iPhone 17, 16, 15. And I almost feel that with ChatGPT. Like I think the iPhone, sorry, I'm really dating myself and getting deep. It's like the iPhone 6, I believe, was like the last small one. Like with 6 is when they went big from 5 to 6, I think. And so like some people missed the old iPhone. Like, so that's the iPhone SE came out. But I almost feel that way with all the backlash against ChatGPT. Like I don't feel like I need ChatGPT 5. I think 4 was sort of okay. So I wonder what like ChatGPT 6, 7, 8, 9, and in the future, like maybe I don't need ChatGPT at all. Maybe Quen is fine. Maybe DeepSeek is fine.
Yeah, that's really an interesting take, but I think when we reflect back on the adoption curve, we are probably the early adopters, and there are so many people out there who don't even have any idea of what GPT models are. So I think there's still a very long tail of user that generative AI is not capturing yet, and so I still think 8 billion people is a large market for them.
Yeah, and I think those people will be fine with like cheaper models. Maybe they're fine with like
Yeah.
Llama or something, or they're fine with some Chinese model. I think like again using the phones, like there's a lot of people with very cheap like Chinese Android phones
Mm.
that um that's like ubiquitous technology. So I wonder if that'll happen with AI. Like not everyone needs the latest and greatest.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure if the history will repeat itself because if there's something tangible like the phone, it's very easy to distribute. It's very easy to show people how it works. But when it comes to software, the distribution channel is very different. When, for example, if you interact with ChatGPT, it's so smooth. You search the internet. Maybe as you it interact with your Google Drive, for example, they do
Yeah.
it very smoothly. And then when it comes to Chinese model, it doesn't interact with the regular ecosystem of apps they're using because the Chinese they don't have access to those Western Google or Microsoft Outlook, and those people would be disappointed with the Chinese experience, so they just switch because software it's very hard to have a sunk cost policy because they can just switch.
It's true. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think ChatGPT actually has done a good job with that. Their product is very simple still. I'm sure they've
Yeah.
had many opportunities to sort of like make it very complicated. And I think there was some missteps. I think the GPTs, have you ever used like a custom GPT? Like the
Yes,
G
they are like they have like a GPT store, right?
Yeah, is anyone buying those? I can't imagine
I
anyone's
don't
really.
buy it at all. It's just a simple prompt.
Yeah, so I think that was like a whole sort of like miss. So I think maybe like, yeah, that's the next step is like, yeah, how to build that ecosystem to make the whole experience friendly. Like Apple has the App Store, and I think GPT tried to make the GPT store, and I think
Yeah.
that did not take as well as Apple did.
But I think it's also come from the monetization opportunities for GPT stores. I don't think that there's nothing proprietary in any GPTs because everyone can just create prompts and then now they allow the GPTs to connect with tools through API. And I think that's very easy to, replicate just 10 minutes for people like us. So we don't have a incentive to pay.
Yeah, I think that part's really interesting. This is not news, but it's been out for a while. The team at Firecrawl released a version, something called Open Lovable. So they built their own version of Lovable. And it's not that groundbreaking because, of course, like you can sort of realize that Lovable is not that complicated. But I think a lot of the value is sort of, okay, there's like the experience part you're talking about, how it interacts with different tools. I think Lovable is quite good about how they are very seamless with like Supabase and these other sort of ecosystem things. But I think a lot of value is in the prompting, right? And
Mm.
so a project where like Open Lovable, I was very interested to look at the prompts they had made and read them. I guess like I think to myself, it would take me a long time to write this prompt. Like I don't know if hopefully they have had some evaluation on it. Maybe they've iterated on it. They have some science on why they chose the prompt that they chose. But it kind of occurs to me that that's like the new source code. Like you look at any iPhone app, it's the same thing, just kind of like a little bit more complicated. Like anyone can build the app for something. And my story about this I always tell is like I built one of the first Twitter readers for like iPhone, like just for fun. It didn't really work. But I was looking for a project to learn iPhone. So I was like, this is 20 years ago. And I like built like this little Twitter viewer just for fun. Because that was like the small project at the time. But that became such a big deal, right? Like those apps. So I wonder if like, that source code is very simple, but it can be very powerful. I wonder if that will happen with prompts in the future. Like if people do have really, really good prompts,
Mm.
it'll be differentiating. And that's like what I think Claude Code is better than other things. Like I wonder how much of Claude Code's excellence is based on like very, very good prompting.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I'm on this subreddit of Claude Code, and suddenly everyone is trying to say Claude Code is not as competitive as GPT Codex.
Really?
Because the argument is when you subscribe to Claude Code, you don't get the 4.0 Opus. You get a 4.0, the previous version of their model. But for
Oh, is that true?
me, yeah, but for me, I still feel they perform better. So that also, validate your view, right? The problem makes a lot of impact on the final outcome for anything that relates to large language model. Doesn't matter what the model behind the tools.
Yeah. And I think in the same way that like source code is not that hard to write before, you mean, especially using now, it's kind of a pain to like write your own app. But like I think with the prompts too, yeah, I don't know. Like in Claude Code, there's a command you can do /context. You can see all the memory use, and you can see that their system prompt is 3,000 tokens. And then, yeah, I'm like so curious to see what those 3,000 tokens are. Like they must have spent a lot of time thinking about those tokens, right? Exactly that prompt says. And I mean, particularly in the case of Open Lovable, I was kind of like very surprised by the prompt. So it says something like, you are a surgeon. And like they use the word surgeon like 5 times. Like you are a surgeon. You are not a construction worker. You are a surgeon. Like, I mean, in reference to like how they do code, not like I feel like not like something else. And so, yeah, I don't know how the people come up with these things, but like if they work, they work. And I sort of have this trust too, like similarly to Apple, like this vertical integration, like sort of Apple's pre-built apps will be a little bit better because they like, it's like Apple built their notes app. I don't really want another notes app or something like calculator app or something like things like that. I kind of wonder if that'll also happen with the LLM players.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. But if you look at apps strategy, I think only OpenAI focus on the consumer use. I think for Claude, they try to target teams instead of regular consumer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, yeah, I think that to me that's so surprising as well because like OpenAI was like funded by Microsoft, right? So Microsoft has so much B2B enterprise like reach.
Yeah.
And somehow they ended up being the more consumer play, and then the Amazon funded one ended up becoming more enterprise, which is sort of the opposite of what you might expect to happen. But yes, there are Claude apps as well. And I think Claude was like the first to make the artifacts, which I think is also an interesting sort of use case. But yeah. Anyway, what have you been building this week?
So this week, I'm actually trying to build something with Claude again. So I'm trying to gather all the reviews of coffee shops in Hanoi. So I'm sort of in a treasure hunt for coffee shops in Hanoi. There's so many types in Hanoi. We have egg coffee, we have salt coffee, and they're all very different from Saigon. But I don't really know where to find them. So essentially, I just build a tool where I can crawl all the Google comments, and then I'll pick the best one to go with Cloud Code. And it gets better though because I feel like the speed is getting definitely better, but there's a little outage in the beginning of the week, and then now
Oh,
it
there
gets
was.
stable. Yeah, there was, and that's also one of the reason why the subreddit that was trying to move to Codex. So yeah, that's what I've been building. What about you? Is there any new tiny projects that you've been trying out?
Yeah, it's good time for me to flex a little bit. I do a lot of the engineering work at Coder School now, and this week I wrote a very simple Discord bot. So we're running this large hackathon, and participants keep asking questions on our Discord. Yeah, with Claude Code, I was able to build like a simple question answer bot, I think in like 30 minutes almost. And the the killer feature. I mean, so it like pulls from I I think it's okay to sort of reveal the architecture. Like there's a Google Doc actually. And so there's a Google Doc that serves as a knowledge base because the rules are not that complicated, but it's hackathon. And so when there's a good question, I just throw the question answer in there. Like we write it. Anyone from our organization can edit this Google Docs. There's no special format. There's no vector database, all this stuff. And I've been sort of pleased with how it works. And the killer feature that I've been most impressed with about the bot is I added a thing. So if you like comment with like a happy emoji, like a heart emoji or a smile emoji, it
Mm.
generates an image. And I'm calling like the nano banana generator.
Oh, that's cool.
I created like in Gemini, I like made like a little cartoon character that looks like that's like wearing a Coder School shirt, a little robot, anime robot thing. And the character consistency on Nano Banana is so good. Like it's
Yes.
not great for people, like photographs, but like for these cartoon characters, like I'm drawing in every single scenario and it's like fascinating. And like definitely no other image model was able to do that. And so I'm kind of blown away by Nano Banana stuff so far.
Yeah, talking about consumer adoption, I think Nano Banana might have been the best visual model out there. I've seen
It's not
everyone
even
is
close. So much better. Yeah.
yeah, everyone is trying to use nano bananas. Even the most low tech people around me was asking me how can they use nano banana to make memes. That's actually a very interesting case. And last week VO3 also cut their prices.
Yeah, and actually, Net Banana plus VO3 is like such a great
Yeah,
combination
yeah.
because I wonder if they use some of the same technology actually. But like, yeah, for the first frame, making it in Nano Banana, I can actually make it do exactly what I want to do. Because Nano Banana, you can sort of like edit the photo, and the videos I've been making have been much better as a result.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I think talking about what you're building the Discord board is also interesting when we look at distribution channel, right? We talked about Microsoft, they have enterprise customers. Why OpenAI is not entering that? And then also the iPhone. The iPhone has probably the largest consumer base. Why there are no Apple AI? And that's so they had Apple AI, but then they don't have it in the previous release of the iPhone. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting how I don't know the whole history about this, but clearly Siri was like an industry pioneer, right? Siri was like the first useful voice assistant, and then Siri sucks now. Like no one uses Siri like 3 years later, 4 years later. So like I think the innovation on Siri very much stalled. Yeah. Okay. Also, you remind me of a story. There's another thing that I've been working on, and it's a very funny story actually. And it makes me lose a little bit of faith in the future of humanity. We need to run, so for this hackathon, we need to also grade student assignments. So I'm working on a platform to help people grade assignments. Now, it's interesting where our customers, we want to give them not a fully AI graded assignment because that kind of sucks. So there's something about the human touch which is so important. But anyway, not even to that point yet. We had to recruit some graders for our assignment. We unintentionally made a brilliant trap in our thing. So for the homework assignment, you had to grade like a sample assignment. And we had 2 sample assignments. So I was like, hey, fill out the thing so we can see how good your grading is, how thorough you are, and how you write. But like the person who made it was non-technical, and they actually messed up the GitHub commit on the second assignment, and they forgot to upload the source code. So they only uploaded this like beautiful README that described what's going to happen, but they forgot to add the actual source code. Now, of the 15 people like I reviewed yesterday, it's very funny because like about 10 of them had very detailed comments about the source code in the second application. So basically, like almost everyone just like pointed some ChatGPT or Claude code or something at the GitHub repo and said, write me a review and just like submit it here. And kind of in the future, I just wonder like, I hear this is happening a lot, of course, with job applications. It's like automated job postings being responded to by automated job seekers, all these things. And I just wonder, it's like so interesting how like, it's AI talking to AI.
Yeah, that's why we have the V versus agents podcast.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Imagine in the future, maybe someday they're very easy to use agents. So we probably use it everywhere. Every time we need a knowledge task. And then what's gonna happen is we and our agents will talk to the others and their agents. And it's gonna be interesting. Like how the interaction happens, how do we keep the common ground when it comes to discussion, debates? Because suddenly all the information is there, and there's a lot of information. And sometimes the information is trying to convince us in a way that that agents thinks, not how human thinks.
Yeah. And that's like a good segue into this other piece of news, which I only kind of briefly saw, which was like OpenAI has a paper on why their bots hallucinate. And if I understand correctly, it's something in the training process. So it's just like, bots are incentivized to do certain actions. And if you give it a reward, like there's like, I think it's like basically reward, what's it called? Reward, incentive, something training, RVLF, whatever it is, verifiable results, or LVR. And then or something like that. And then, so basically it's like, yeah, but basically like, I think one of the upshots is like, yeah, like you said, the agent, of course, it's just a mathematical formula, but it has like a goal. It wants to get that cookie. It wants to get that thing. So it actually has like a goal that's not necessarily like always aligned with the user. And so yeah, your agent might get you to do something. And then it gets even scarier when you start thinking about eventually, well, we talked about like the Chinese models, like they clearly are trained in they have different incentives.
Yeah, sure.
But in the future, we're going to have tons of like advertising in our stuff like we talked about last week. We'll have lots of different competing incentives. And it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, actually the problem is no, right? Everyone knowing the training process would have incentives for the final outcomes. And even Apple, they have a paper about the illusion of thinking. So the model is not thinking. It's just all about the math and how you want it to be. So I think it's very interesting. And when it comes to closed model, we never know what actually happens. So even we talk about Quen. So most of the Chinese model, they go the open source route. But Quen 3 Max, they don't do it. So that's just the reality. And it seems like there are a lot more factors that interfere to the operation, and they might have to do it. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest question right now. How do we know? Is it good for us?
Actually, in my first time I saw this, I don't know if you've seen this thing before. ChatGPT warned me about something recently. I had told it that I drank some very old coconut water. So I had like a coconut in my refrigerator that I forgot about. I found it like in the back of my refrigerator. It's like, oh, and it's been there for like, I don't know how long, at least a month, probably longer. And I drank it. And then I just asked ChatGPT like, hey, am I going to get sick from this thing? And ChatGPT was like, probably not. And I was like, I'm worried I'm going to die. And that's what I just wrote. And ChatGPT like responded, but then it gave me like a little thing that was like, if you're like suicidal, I feel like I said, it sounds like you're going through a really tough time right now. This wasn't part of the conversation. It's like a special like little box that popped up. It's like, if you're going through a really tough time, you don't have to go through alone. Here's some resources to help, and like a link to like a suicide hotline.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how like you program that in. Like, is the user suicidal? Like, should I help them? Because I think the big sort of other news, I don't think we talked about this, is that like this kid, like 15-year-old kid or something, had
Yeah, we
used
talk about that.
ChatGPT
Yeah.
to, yeah, to plan a suicide, right? Like, and so, yeah, like what if AI, yeah, how do you align it? How do you know what the user's best interests are and things like that? It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's also the bigger question is who is going to be responsible for that, right? Is it what if ChatGPT they have two different products, the GPT model and ChatGPT app.
It's true.
So where should they have those incentive to protect their user? Is it at the model level? Is it at the application level? And yeah, that's kind of hard because if you want to make the best model ever, maybe you want to make everything at the extreme level of computation. So you might want to skip all the unnecessary um, barriers for all the compute power. So where should they do that, and when and how? I think that's the even bigger question for them.
Yeah. And another news too, I was trying to generate a video of someone burning themselves pouring coffee. So like I was giving a lecture about poorly designed teapots. There's this very famous teapot called the Norman teapot. And like the spout is on the same side as the handle. And it's just like this like funny design that explains like, hey, this is super user unfriendly. If you try to pour tea, you just like pour it all over yourself. And Google's like, no, blocked content policy. Because you can't like have someone like burning themselves on purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind of silly. Okay. I think that wraps up this week. It's been a little bit of a quiet week in news,
yes, yeah, I agree.
but I think we have some stuff coming up. I think DeepSeek is going to launch something soon.
Yes, super excited for that. Whether or not they can dethrone the GPT model again.
Good
Well,
luck on your fourth course if you have one.
for sure. Thank you, man. All right, see
See
you
ya.
next week.
Bye.